So when we're looking at a bullish bat pattern, what we're looking at is an M-type pattern, has a B point here that is less than a 618 retracement, but is really, must be a crisp 50% pullback of the XA leg, because this sets up our other measurements, including a more extreme BC extension, a deeper retest of the X point to the 886, and then usually that extended ABCD pattern. The bullish bat pattern potential reversal zone is going to look something like this. Your ABCD is a minimum, but usually that variation is going to be extended. And then typically the 886 is going to be a little bit lower, or the lowest number, lowest measurement in the zone, but it's usually going to be the most critical. So as soon as that 886 is tested, then we're looking to take action from an execution standpoint. Also, we're still using the 1.0, but in this case, we're going to allow for a deeper retest of the X, and we're going to place our stop loss limit below, slightly further below the 1.0. Now, we'll look at the strategies when we look at trade management of exactly the positioning of your stop loss, but it's similar to the Gartley, but we're looking to place it a little bit deeper, and we're actually looking, we're waiting for the full pattern to complete in any situation. So we're not automatically entering any trade, and again, we'll get into this in execution as well, but just the understanding that we expect a deeper retracement of the initial point at X. Our stop loss limit is slightly below the 1.0 area, but deeper than the Gartley. And when we look at trade management, we're going to look at exact placements. Now, in the 60-minute, this here's an example of the British pound versus the Swiss franc. Notice how we have an M-type structure with the 50 at the 50% mark at the B point. It's less than a 618, but the B point is more of an exact 50% level, which defines the M structure to possess a deeper retest at the X point. So we're looking at our 886, our 1618 BC. Remember that 1618 BC, that's a mandatory minimum. And then we're also looking at the alternate 1618 ABCD pattern. That's an extended AB equals CD structure. So these three numbers define the proper area to examine for that pattern completion. Here's the 886. Here's that minimum 1618 BC. Now this was below the 886 slightly, but again, that tells us that this type of or M-type structure will have a deeper retest. If we were looking at a Gartley and we just assumed that this was another Gartley that was going to complete at a 786, we would look to execute probably somewhere up in here, 152.60, 152.65, and we would be risking a lot more in the trade than we would have to. So that's critical, just a critical differentiation where these different type of M and W structures put us in the proper ballpark or optimize our entries of requiring less risk in the trade altogether. Now, in this example of the S&P 500, here's a nice bullish bat with an exact 50% at the B point. That sets us up for our 2.0 BC with an 886. Looking at that price action in the potential reversal zone, look at how those numbers all came together in a tight area, including the alternate 1618 AB equals CD. Now this is important because, again, we will get into execution types, but although this structure required two tests, here's the first test, again a type 1 reversal, then we have a secondary test, type 2. It found distinct support in this area. If we were assuming maybe this was a Gartley and just not differentiating these structures and just saying, oh, this is a Gartley, we need to look at the 786. we're looking at 3 or 4 points higher to 1262, maybe even 1263, 4 handles more to risk in the trade. Whereas if we properly identify this by namely looking at the B point, and that B point is the key indicator that the whole structure will have a deeper retest, then we're optimizing our executions and requiring less in the trade. Here on the US dollar Swiss franc on a 15-minute basis, we have another bullish bat. First place to look, always, B point. What's the B point say to you? It says we're at a 50% level. So why? Okay, what's our proper expectation? Our proper expectation is that this M-type structure is going to have a deeper retest of the initial point at X, so we use these measurements. The 1.618, that's our minimum BC level. That complements the extended AB equals CD, and in this case, it's a 127, AB equals CD. And here's the 886. So these three numbers come together in a tight area, 6 pips, to define the proper execution zone. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, again, notice how we come down, the market, the price action is declining. It completes the structure here, hits the 886, and immediately stabilizes. That's the kind of indicative price action we want to start looking for, and we want to be looking to take action immediately after all the numbers have been tested on the next price bar. And we'll look at that in execution. But the proper identification of this structure pointed us in the optimal area where to take the trade. And just look at the B point right here. It's at a 50% level. That's really crisp. That's a nice 50% level that sets up that M-type structure.